for tonight. All right. Hello. Welcome to week 10. We are going to be talking about part 2 of our digital painting project tonight, as well as kind of our projected schedule for the next week or two as we are in our last 2 weeks before our spring break. I'm going to share with you final triptychs so that you can see how those all turned out, as well as part 1 of the digital painting project. I do have a design resource to share with you tonight that's related to Photoshop and those third-party brushes that we started learning about and investigating last week. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for a while. I'm going to share my whole desktop so you can kind of just see what is going on. And let me just share with you first the design resource that I have for you. In the Creative Cloud app, which is kind of the dashboard application that you utilize when you load the software, and it's how you just, all the apps are here. It's how you update the apps as you go. But this is also a pretty cool place to look for assets when you're working in any of the softwares, including looking for Photoshop brushes. So I was just kind of playing with this and testing it out to see what happens when you search for assets to use. And of course, the in-app tutorials, some of which you guys have been doing via our Canvas assignments come up, which is pretty cool. But if you scroll down to the assets that are available, you can see some of the extra stuff that you don't normally see right away. The one that came to my attention in particular was this plugins. So again, Creative Cloud app, put in Photoshop brushes, but then scroll down to plugins. And these are all brushes that you can load directly into Photoshop via this dashboard. And you can sort them by the app that you're looking for. We're looking for Photoshop. You can sort them by free versus paid to just see what's available for free, and then just go from there to see kind of what's available, and then just get them and load them directly into Photoshop. So I thought that was a pretty cool thing that's not really obvious, and it's not like something that you may know about just automatically. There are other plugins that are available as well for doing all kinds of different effects in Photoshop. So I just wanted to share that with you. Again, that's via the Creative Cloud app. So let's see, let me, you know how it drives me crazy when I cannot see you guys. Let me find you, because I don't know where you went. Here you are. And then the thing that I want to do, I have one announcement, and I'm going to put the information into the chat for you so that you guys, should you be interested, could have access to this information. So I have an email from McCormick. She is, if you do not know, she is our administrative kind of point person for the DART program. She is amazing. And I was asking today about the student art show because I knew that that was coming up. We have it every semester, and the call is now for anyone who would like to share their artwork for inclusion in the art show. And they will print artwork if you want it printed, but they also show them digitally on the screens in the department. So what I'm putting into the chat is the release form. The student release form is a PDF. You can download it, save it to your desktop in case you decide you want to do it. The other is a link to the SharePoint folder where you would put your work. And what you want to do is make sure that you title your work and that with, you know, your name and what kind of artwork it is. And then that would be the information that you would also put on the entry form so that they match up. And then this is something that you don't need me for. You are just welcome to do it, to participate. The triptychs came out awesome, and I want to encourage you all to potentially share those to the student art show. So that was an announcement I have, and now I'm going to go ahead and share with you the triptychs from the finals that were turned in this last week, and I'm really super excited about them. Can you guys see my just preview right now? Yeah. This is Jimenez, and I love how it turned out. You guys are welcome. I'm just going to kind of show you. I cut them out of the, what do you call it? I cut them out of the PowerPoint presentations so that you could just see them by themselves. Does that make sense? So that you could just see the triptych, so that you could just see a bit of visual storytelling. And I'm not going to, you know, do more than that. Like you kind of get out of it what you do, but you will see how beautiful these are. I'm so pleased with how they turned out. And I just, like I said, I just cut them out of the PDF presentations so that I could show you just the triptychs. So this is yeses. And I think like having gone through the feedback sessions and seeing everyone's ideas and work in progress and questions and everything, that it really is nice to see them all kind of in what is happening here, to see each of them now. Sorry. The sidebar is hidden. Where is it? I want to see it. Thumbnails. There we go. Okay. Oops. That's Slaves. And Melissa. I think the notes that you took and the Sergio, the final results are just amazing. Stephen, I really do encourage you guys to share these with the student art show. You would go back to your Photoshop file and export a high resolution JPEG, or save it as a high resolution flattened JPEG, similar to what you included in your the file that you included in your presentation, but then just upload Kiara that JPEG. You don't have to include the whole PDF like you do for the assignment. Aaliyah, Angelica. Great job, guys. Gordon. Say. Jolene. I think, even though I jumped around a bit, that is everyone's. What do you guys think? Like, seriously. Impressive work. I'm so pleased with how they all turned out. Really great job, everybody. So again, the student art show info is in the chat. At least save it for later and consider these triptychs well worth submitting to the show. Really, really fantastic job, everybody. I love them. So good. Okay, so sharing those with you, let me we put, you know, like we're buttoning up our I don't know, is that our like second major project for this class? And let me go ahead and just show you our week 10 overview, which includes part 2 of the digital painting. We've buttoned up our triptych and put that to bed. Really, again, the visual storytelling was on point. The Photoshop work was on point. The final presentations that told the whole story of your creative process, excellent. I'm really, really, really happy with the work that you guys did. Here we are in week 10, and then going into next week, week 11, which will be our last week before spring break. So you'll see that we have some kind of all over the place due dates here. The 7th would be our normal due date, right? So that's next Monday. Your exercises are due next Monday. The discussion board post is due next Monday. But what's a little bit different is our project work, because this week's project work is going to span this week and next week and include a critique. So if you were to look at a calendar, your work for the week for the project is your work in progress of the critique is due on Friday, this Friday, the 4th. It does not have to be polished. It just needs to be in progress so that you can get some feedback from your classmates. Then the feedback session will be open Saturday through Monday, end of day, giving you that regular due date. So the critique will have two due dates. Your creative work is due by the 4th so that you can participate in the critique, and then that feedback, that design critique is due by Monday, so by the 7th. So then, because you won't be getting your feedback on your work in progress until potentially Monday, and then also in class next week, you'll have until next Friday to finish up your final for that project. And then I have the work done due for next week, and your part 2 of the painting project, have those due on the 11th. I think the 13th, let me look at my calendar really quick here. Yeah, the 11th is Friday, and then the 13th is the Sunday, and then it's spring break. So my kind of goal is I'm not assigning new work over spring break. I want you to turn in everything by the Friday or Sunday before spring break starts. And then the project work that you'll start next week isn't going to be due until the next week. So not something to worry about right now, but just I wanted you to kind of note and make sure that you pay attention to these kind of different due dates. So you've got Friday, work in progress of your digital painting due. Monday, your exercises are due, your discussion post is due, the feedback that you leave in the critique is due, and then you will get the feedback from the peer reviews, and then you'll get feedback in class next week on your work in progress, so that you can then finalize the project by before spring break. Does anyone have questions about that? It's kind of our second kind of attempt at this online critique session. And at this time, I have announcements set up for you so that you'll get reminders when to turn what in, and reminders to do your feedback, and reminders that we'll be doing, in class feedback. So make sure you have your notifications on, because they're going to come as Canvas announcements. Here is the weekly overview with, again, reminders to note those due dates. Your work in progress is due Friday, your review's due by Monday, and then the final is due Friday before spring break. You've got 2 exercises this week, both again having to do with painting and the brushes in Photoshop. This particular exercise, I wanted to make a little side note to you. Make sure you watch the video first. It will be really helpful for completing the exercise. And then I wanted to let you know that this exercise is a little bit of a more advanced exercise. It's not quite as simple and easy as what you've been learning with brushes so far, but it gives you the option of creating kind of a cool effect. And I thought I would give you guys the opportunity to take a stab at it. That said, and it also gives you access to a set of Kyle T. Webster's brushes so that you can upload them into Photoshop and use them. But that said, because it is a little bit more difficult and it's a little bit more tricky, I went through it myself. I did screen captures. I showed you what my final one looked like. Do your best. If this doesn't turn out exactly like, you know, the video and like my final and like the example, that is okay. I just wanted you guys to have the opportunity to try something a little bit trickier. It is a in app, there is a hands-on tutorial instruction, so it will, you know, kind of guide you around to do it, but I super recommend watching the video. When I did it, I watched the video, I started doing it with the hands-on tutorial, and then I had to refer back to the video and kind of see again what it was telling me to do, because it is, like I said, it's a little bit more advanced, but a really cool effect that may be something that you want to utilize in your work in progress for your digital painting. The second exercise is working with a brush called the art history brush, with which you can get some really cool effects that I can see being used in an impressionist version of a digital painting, a pop art digital painting, and I wanted you guys to have some practice playing with this brush because it's a really cool one. So I did this one as well and have my example down here on the bottom. So those are your two exercises. As always, I recommend reading the lecture for the week. You will have a whole lecture, Adobe Photoshop tooltip on the art history brush. So read a little bit about what it is, how it works, and the tips before you do your exercises. So any question about that? Because that is going to leave us with today, me sharing digital painting part 1. And then I want to go over the critique and the expectations for the critique, as well as part 2 for the painting. When we did our critique before, I don't remember. Oh, here it is. So this effective design critiques from week 8, you may want to make notes, and I link back to it in the critique page. But this is that one again that tells you what your responsibilities are as a peer providing feedback to your classmates. It is more than just saying, hey, great job. It's more than just saying, I see the elements and principles at design, you know, of design at work here. My expectation and kind of what you're graded on when you do your critiques are your effective communication, addressing your peers by their names, and then, you know, following the prompts of the critique to give them feedback that's actually helpful. You've seen me do it in, you know, several Zooms now with giving feedback to you and trying to give you the positives of what you have, but also tools for making your work better, or, you know, kind of giving you guidance so that to help you get to level up your work. So let me, before I get too deep into that, find and show you, let's see here, the presentations for part 1 of the digital photo project. They are sort of in alphabetical order because that's just happens when I download them. These, and they are all kind of at different stages. That is not something to worry about. My hope for sharing your classmates' work with you is that you get ideas from each other, and that you can have like the sense of commiseration of just all being in the same place, doing the same work, struggling with the same things, and just know that we're kind of all in this together. So starting with Jose's, his brainstorm and research, he chose pop art as his art style, and he was working with the Mona Lisa. So got right into sketching and ideation, and some very straight to the point ideas. And we can see like which was really fun, by the way, you guys, the discussion board from last week with the third-party brush share. This has completed, and if you have not gone back to it yet, go back and see some of the brushes that were shared by your classmates. But you can see that kind of halftone effect that is so prevalent in pop art is something that can be accomplished with a brush. So go back and see that discussion board from last week if you haven't already. Aaliyah is doing pop art as well. And has chose, I believe, to move forward with the Mona Lisa. One of the cool things that Aaliyah found, and I love, is this over here, CMYK prints of the Mona Lisa, kind of very cool. And then a whole tutorial. Note this, any of you doing pop art, is a tutorial specifically on capturing that pop art look in Photoshop. So thank you, Aaliyah, for that. Jolene, the Mona Lisa. I got to see the Mona Lisa, which was crazy. It is one of the paintings that I don't know if you guys have heard, is there's like a ton of hype and everybody wants to get in and see it, and it's in this room. Well, it was, I think they moved her, and she's so small. She's so small, and like literally like this big, and you know, it's amazing. It really is. The depth of the artwork, it really is. No wonder that it's a masterpiece, but also like so much hype for something that's so small. Leif is doing this Edvard Munch's The Scream. And Gordon, pop art Mona Lisa. I love the color palette work that you guys have done and started, capturing Theo, The Scream. I don't know that anyone picked Starry Night. And what was my other one? Oh, The Wave, Melissa. I'm looking forward to sharing this one. These are so cool. So this is Cubism as far as the art style goes for Stephen. And Stephen is doing the Mona Lisa, which I think really does lend herself to being Cubist, and very cool sketching and ideation. I think a lot of Cubist work has these like really muted kind of earth tones, except for this bottom one, I guess. So something to think about. Yes. Scream. I love the TV. There's a lot of information, so much brainstorm and research, which I hope is like helping you guys kind of get in the feel of your artwork. Just to know some of the background of it, I think is important. So we are going to see the Scream in the impressionist art style. Edgar Degas is one of my favorites. Sergio. Oops. This says, am I at the end? I might have already, let me go back to page 1. There we go. Okay, The Great Wave. I love how all of our masterpieces had a kind of a presence, at least like an influence, if not like the exact painting or the exact masterpiece in that Coca-Cola commercial. So The Wave in the impressionist art style. Nice. Sam, are you doing Starry Night? Yay! So Starry Night as an impressionist art style. It is one of my favorites. I saw this one as well years ago, and it is beautiful. Cool. And then last but not least, Melissa doing the Great Wave. In the Art Deco art style. I think we have a really good representation. I think we have at least one of everything and one of every art style by the time all is said and done. This painting is in the collection of the Art Institute of Chicago, which is where my son went to school, and they keep it, you know, in storage, and they only bring it out every however many years. And so the whole time he was in school there, it was not in the rotation. So I never got to see it, though I did get to see some of the artist's other work, which was really cool. And you could definitely get the vibe of that style, that woodblock style, which really does kind of lend itself to an Art Deco interpretation. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I think this stuff is amazing, and I love being able to share your work and kind of show you what everybody is doing in the class. So there is a question from Sergio about the difference between Impressionism and Post-Impressionism. I would have to look at the actual artwork to see. I don't know historically, other than there is a time difference. Impressionism is going to be a certain span of years, and then post-impressionism is going to be after that. Likely the changes, change in colors, change in tones used. A lot of times when there's an art style difference, it's because something dramatic happened in the world, whether it was a war or a war ending, or just like a big kind of revolution in styles in the art world, or even in the music world that has then influenced the art world. You'd have to Google it, Sergio, and then give us kind of some feedback on that. I don't know off the top of my head, and I'd have to look into it. But thank you for asking. Let me show you, oops, I'm not in the right thing here. Modules. I need to go to week 10 because I wanted to share with you the project page. Now, I should not see anything turned into this assignment until after next week's in class feedback session. You are to use this page, however, to reference back what you're to do for your work in progress, and then later for creating your final. So these tabs are going to be split up. Part of the stuff you're going to be doing this week to turn in on Friday for the participating in the critique, and then you're going to come back and finish up part 2 to turn in your final a week from Friday, not till that Friday before, before spring break. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this kind of creation of your work in progress file is that you're going to start by opening the original art image. And some of you have mentioned to me already how large those images are, which is good. That's amazing. So I recommend just kind of working with that larger image and doing your painting and doing your brush work and playing around and creating your work in progress on that larger file, because it's going to give you higher resolution to look at. Here's the thing though. That larger format, that larger file size is also going to take more memory and more of your computer's kind of processor to work. So if your computer is already giving you trouble with handling larger files, you're probably going to need to and want to size it down a little bit so that it's manageable. So ideally, like, it would be great to be able to work with the original artwork in the size that it is, but that may not be practical for working with what you are working on. So for instance, if I open up Starry Night in Photoshop, I get this big, beautiful image, right? If I go to the image size and look at it, oh, I already sized this one. Did I open up the sized one? Let me see here, original art sizes. and I zipped them. Let me see here. So Mona Lisa. Nope, that's not what I wanted to open. I just totally got distracted. So Starry Night. And these are really big files. So while I wanted to provide you with images that have the highest resolution so that you have the most pixels to work with to start, it's going to slow down your computer. So I don't want you to be stuck with that. See, this original image is 416 inches wide. If I were to resample it and make it 300 dpi, it's still 100 inches wide, which is absolutely bonkers. I'm pretty sure that I sized these for you guys already and gave you the 5x7 300 dpi artwork. This is the size that you should be working in. This is the size of what your final will be when you turn it in. So your best bet is just to open up that file that you downloaded and do a save as immediately. So you're going to want to save it as a Photoshop file. So change your format to Photoshop so that when you start adding layers to it, it'll be the same file. And just go ahead and add your name to the end of the original artwork name for your work in progress. Then you can drop your sketches in here on top of to use to trace. You can just start, directly playing with the brushes. You can drop your color palette onto a layer like we saw last week in the video from Retro Supply, how he had his little color palette and he could just use his eyedropper, to source his colors. But that is kind of basically what I wanted to tell you. Now you'll be able to create a layered file. Every time you just Command or Control S to save it, it's going to save that layered PSD so that you have that work to work on, and you can do non-destructive kind of painting right over the top. Keep your layers organized. Take screen captures as you go to include in your presentation of your documentation of your work in progress. Make sure to read through these instructions before you get started. And then this is the work that wherever you are by Friday, you need to wrap it up. You need to add it to last week's presentation as your work in progress. And then you're going to head over to the critique page and submit it. Your work in progress does not have to be polished. It does not have to be completely done. You're going to put in your presentation, some what do you call it? You can put questions that you have. You can put just a statement of where you're going with it, where you're headed, and so that you have notes about your work in progress for your classmates as they take a look at your work. Again, just make sure you read through these instructions before you get started. And then Friday, you're going to head over to the critique page, and this is where you're going to submit, your work in progress for this week. Do not include it on the, do not submit it to the assignment page, but rather just to the critique page on Friday. Then Saturday morning, you're going to have 2 peers to review. I believe I have this set up as 2 peer reviews. And what's going to happen is Canvas automatically sorts those who have turned in their work on time and assigns you 2 peers to review. When you come back to this page on Saturday, anytime after 8 a.m., you'll see up here in the top right the names of 2 peers. You'll click on them and give them feedback. You can use the prompts here. You're going to put it in the comment section rather than using the rubric. The rubric is for me to use to grade your feedback. And yeah, the other thing that's kind of cool that you can do if you don't know or you haven't tried it yet is when you click on your classmate's name and it takes you to their PDF, you can actually mark up their PDF as well, which is kind of a cool way to give your feedback. But what I want to recommend if you do that is that you also put a note in the comment section. You know, I'm going to use your name, Melissa. Hey, Melissa, you know, I put feedback for you directly on your PDF. You know, great job, Sam, kind of a deal. So use your classmate's name, use, you know, the effective design critiques page as a reminder of kind of what you should be doing for this. And then that needs to be done by next Monday before our next Tuesday class. And then we'll review the work in progresses in class next Tuesday. You can ask questions, you'll get feedback from me. This is kind of a big project. It is not easy to create something from nothing. We are not editing a photo. You are not doing, you know, what do you call it? Non-destructive editing to a photo. You're not doing necessarily layer masking or this and that. You're creating pixels from nothing. You know, granted, you're using a starting point or, you know, a reference artwork, but what you're creating from scratch. And so I want you to take your time to do that. And I want to encourage you guys kind of just overall to work with intention through every part of the creative process, not to skip ahead because you're going to end up having to redo things, which is not really productive. And I don't want you to be wasting your time or spinning your wheels. In this class, I have reduced kind of the amount of work so that the work that you do, you have time to do quality work, to create quality college level student art show worthy work. And that's what I've been seeing from you so far this semester. And I want to just encourage you to continue in that vein because I know it's a little spring fevery right now, just kind of in general. And I feel like, how are we not done yet with the semester? So if I'm feeling that way, I know you guys also must be feeling that way. And I just want to encourage you, like, take a break, take things slowly, do your work, you know, to the best of your ability, and there's no reason necessarily to turn in things early unless you have questions and you need me to give you, you know, some clarification about what you're doing and you just kind of want to show me what you have. But strive to be creating things that could be included in your portfolio, that can be included in the student art show, things that you're proud of for sharing in this class and for sharing, you know, just in general. So next week, I'll just give you a sneak peek as where we're headed before spring break. We're going to be starting the double exposure project, which is if you had me for Dart 120, we did a double exposure project, and this is a little bit different. Some of the same skills, but a more focused print related project. And then you're also going to have, you know, next week from Tuesday, and I'll probably actually change this to Sunday so it matches, have everything be due the 13th. So you have some extra time to create that. Your double exposure project, as always, you're going to be starting with brainstorm and research. So you don't need to, you know, necessarily like work frantically ahead, and it won't be due until after spring break. So any questions? I love what's going on in the chat. I love seeing you guys talking to each other. And thank you, Melissa, for weighing in on the art history and the Impressionism versus post-Impressionism. Very, very cool. I'm going to cut you guys loose. I'm already kind of starting to lose my voice, but I will stick around if anyone has questions, comments, needs me in any way. Let me, I didn't take roll yet, but maybe I'll take roll really quickly. I'm going to stop the recording.